Hello, Nicole.
Hey
what do you
there.
What do you want to connect on today?
I would like to connect on, again, with the COVID and how much more complicated it has become since the Delta variant.
Yeah, and affected us sending the kids to school, right?
In-person school, man. It's
in-person school.
gotten worse since we decided that it would be okay to send them to in-person school.
Right.
And so what would you like to connect on today?
I'd like to talk about helping your kids reach their dreams when they have dreams of things that you don't fully understand.
Nice.
So,
yeah,
I figured that'd be good to talk about.
that's a tough balance, yeah?
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, join us on another episode of the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast.
Or welcome.
Oh, yeah. Welcome again to the Hallspace Podcast.
The live version.
The live version.
Yeah.
For those of you who are tuning in or who are trying to tune in, we had some technical difficulties a moment ago. We're not sure if it's not going to happen again, but we're going to do our best to put on the show as best we can.
Right.
Without any further issues
technical
or concerns.
Issues.
But I
right.
anticipate there will be some technical issues
Maybe.
or concerns.
We're still trying to figure it out. And
it is still a work in progress.
It is.
For sure.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. For those who are watching this live or watching it later, you could possibly be watching this later.
Welcome.
I don't know. But we're trying to do the thing as best we can.
We are. We're going to jump right into it.
Yeah, we're going to jump right into some topics because we're short on time today.
Yeah.
It's late and I got to get my kids and get them ready for bed. And they got school tomorrow because that's a whole thing.
That's a whole in-person school.
In-person school is happening.
In-person school.
Yes.
Which,
Yeah. We have the feels about that. That's a whole topic.
We do.
Do you want to do that first? Do you want to go to the other stuff? You know what?
Let's just go right into that. I mean, so it's like you said, we felt better about this whole COVID thing back in May. Right?
Yes, back in May when the vaccine came out, people were taking the vaccines and the numbers were steadily going down.
The numbers were going down and the schools had said, we are taking 2 days off. All of our staff, everyone who works in this building is going to be vaccinated.
Yes.
Boom, right?
And so we could feel confident that the school year was going to happen appropriately and that there wouldn't be any issues or concerns.
Exactly. And we had Victoria. She was going for that third quarter. They were all vaccinated. They wore their masks. They did the social distancing. They ate at their desk. There was no, going back and forth to the bathroom, all that kind of germy kid stuff. Yeah. And so they gave us quite a bit. They gave us quite a bit confidence. They gave us a level of confidence. It was like, okay. And they're like, okay, do you want to do in person next year? Absolutely. Because
we were feeling pretty good.
Learning was hard and, we want them to have normal years. And then
things started changing.
Everything went.
Delta showed up, kicked in the door, waving the 4-4. Yeah. All you heard was, don't put masks on no more. and the numbers started going back up. Delta was like, you thought you was going to enjoy your summer.
You thought you was done?
You thought you was going to take vacations?
You going to Florida? You think
you're going to Florida? Florida will show you. I'm sorry, Nicole's verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. It's a little personal for her because she really wanted to go to Florida this year. And I had to nix that. She came to me and was also like, I don't know if we should do this. Because Florida is like going full Florida.
It went Florida, man. Full Florida, man.
Florida, man.
So we had signed the kids up for school, right? And we're like, we're going to Florida and we're going to fly because these kids are old enough to fly.
Right. And the tickets weren't that expensive.
The tickets weren't that expensive. We're going to fly into St. Pete, which
we're feeling good about it.
We're feeling very, very good about it.
Yes.
And then And then the COVID did what it did, and the people that are not vaccinated are breathing on other folks who are also not vaccinated. Yeah, and then it became a thing, and then Florida does what Florida does.
Went full Florida.
Yeah, went full Florida. So,
and we were like, I don't think we can go to Florida because Florida numbers are crazy, and I don't want to get stuck in Florida.
Right, there was that
COVID.
too. That's that too. I mean, we were going down to Clearwater, our favorite place. We were going to stay in the same place we normally stay in.
Yep.
We were going to fly. And so it wasn't like going down and staying with family and you're like right at the beach. It was like we are going to contact multiple humans.
Yes.
Lots of humans.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, well, we'll hold off and then maybe there will be another time for that because it's better to be safe than sorry because we can't get sick. I can't get sick. You can't get sick again.
No.
Like it's not a thing. So with that, it's like, man, we canceled our vacation, which was like 2 weeks before school started.
Yeah.
And then we're like, ugh, we're also going to send them to school. And I don't know that remote learning is actually happening for our district right now.
Right now, they are not. I mean, you can go full homeschool, but like there is not.
You can do full homeschool, but that's a whole separate process than remote learning with PRE teachers, which is what we had last year.
Yes.
So last year, they accommodated everybody. They said, if you want to send your kid in person, no worries. They'll come to the school and they'll follow the protocols.
Yeah.
If you don't want your kids to go in person, then we'll have remote learning classes, same grades, same teachers, everything, except it's just online. They do everything through Google Classroom. I don't think they're doing that this year.
They are not.
It's just straight up, you either going to school or you're going to figure out homeschool on your own, which is a whole separate process that I don't want to do.
Right. Nobody wants to do that.
Y'all get vaccinated so I don't have to teach my kids. I don't.
Aw.
I love them, but.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very difficult trying to be a parent and an employee and
right,
a teacher and the PE teacher and the lunch lady. And
so I gotta because I was all of those things.
No, I watched it happen. I was involved. My joke was like they would often make you into a short order cook. Like you'd come in to make one thing for lunch and you'd be like, so here's what I'm making for lunch. And then they'd be like, but can I get like eggs and can I get
I'd rather have eggs. I don't want eggs. I want soup noodles. I don't want soup noodles. I want a hamburger. And so out of that, the middle kid, Daniel, knows how to make his own eggs.
Yes, the kids have learned to do their own cooking.
Rod knows how to make his own hamburger. Yep.
Because
Victoria can make her own SpaghettiOs.
Circumstances. It was like, oh, well, if you want to eat this, then maybe you should learn these basic rudimentary cooking steps to make this.
Well, and I'm not, I don't really eat during the day. I have coffee and I have water. And, if I'm coming to the kitchen for food in the middle of the day, that means I'm starving. There is a... and they're like, well, wait, you're in the kitchen?
Yeah.
What you making?
Right.
Wow, first of all, I'm getting water.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, so they've learned a lot that way. And I've learned to enable them to be more self-sufficient.
Yes.
Right. Because I'm doing them a disservice to be like, oh, I'll make everything for you. No, you have hands.
Yeah.
And I can stand here. You can totally solve this problem. Victoria knows how to get her own milk. God bless her.
Yeah.
It's those little things that have happened that is a good thing. But there's still this nervousness, right, of they're going to school every day. They were mandated to wear a mask last year, y'all.
Yeah.
And so 100%, all the kids, all the teachers
had to wear the masks.
And the numbers were significantly smaller, of course. So, Victoria had 6 people in her class tops.
Right.
Everybody's in school now. And I, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the elementary school or the middle school because we have kids in both. They're like, well, you guys can decide as a family whether to wear a mask or not.
This year, it's suddenly like a personal choice thing. Like, because there have been so many political conversations around, and these are purely political conversations. They are not based on health information.
Or science.
Or science information.
Health or health.
Yeah. No. Because it is now possible for them to argue that you have rights, and that among those rights that should not be infringed upon is the tyranny of having to wear a face covering, even though we have legislated no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Oh yeah, you can't go into a CVS with your shirt with no shirt on.
Well, your kid can't exercise the rights to show up to school without a shirt on.
I bet you if Victoria went to school in a midriff.
Yeah. So while those rules still apply,
you're willing to police that.
Yeah, but they feel like they can't police, and because there's so much energy behind
There's hullabaloo behind it. Yeah.
People are struggling with.
We have a family mandate that says you will wear.
They have to wear masks. Yes,
100%.
Yeah, we had the conversation about it. Daniel was like, "I don't even have to wear one." It's like, no.
No, actually, you do.
I don't know what those teachers said.
We said you do.
We said you do.
I don't care what they say at the school.
Yeah.
I don't care what the students say.
Yeah.
You will wear your mask.
Right. We had the conversation about why it was important in our house because of a number of people in our life that are immunocompromised, including Nicole.
I am autoimmune.
And Ra has the
I'm in a flare right now.
And with the asthma, his lungs couldn't take a bout with the COVID-19.
No, he had that asthma attack years ago and had to go in the hospital.
Yeah. And we've avoided it for quite some time.
Yep.
And so the statement that I've been saying over and over again is that we're dancing between raindrops when it comes to the COVID. Because at this point, we are not following any of the rules that we set last year as a society.
We can't get people to believe the rules.
We can't get people to believe the rules. So we can't get them to believe that they should keep distance from each other. We can't get them to believe that they should wear masks and cover their face and their eyes.
I wouldn't have problems with people that were against the vaccine if they were the same people distancing and wearing masks.
If they could believe
but they're not.
They don't want to do anything. So, I mean, and my thing has been that people want some level of control. And so I know that.
I get that too. I'd like some control too, but
and they want to exercise it. There's too many people on this planet, so they're all going to exercise control in different ways. And so for me, I understand it's exercising control by I'm not going to do the thing that you say I need to do.
Yeah, but it literally is life or death, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think, but if I refuse to believe that.
Yeah, I think that there's, we're in this sort of space where it's been a while since new vaccines have been entered, right?
Yeah.
When we were kids, and I make this example every single time, when we were kids, we had to get chickenpox, right? Mm-hmm. I got it. That means your brother and your cousin had to get it. We put everybody in a room. We all just going to get it one good time, right?
Yeah.
And then...
Well, chickenpox wasn't deadly, though.
It wasn't deadly.
As deadly.
But
it
was contagious,
It is among the things that could be deadly.
But it was very, very,
it was not as intense as, say, smallpox.
No. Or measles or a mumps or whatever. But, I mean, that's,
or rubella or diphtheria. Like, there's a host
all
of
the things that
diseases.
Have been cured.
Yeah. Well, the idea that we haven't had diseases like this in so long, that people genuinely have forgotten what it takes to fight diseases like this. And for most people with healthy immune systems, you don't have to sit with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to stop and think about your immunity. You can just assume you're going to be okay. And too many people are assuming they're going to be okay. That's why, a lot of my friends who are in nursing and hospitals are saying hospitals are now full with like 30 and 20-year-olds because they've never had to question their mortality.
Right. But I agree with what Laura Beth said. It is bound by this unresolved fear. There is this level of fear of, getting it, not getting it. There's so many questions about it because for so many people, especially in, our generation and younger, that they're just not used to this.
They're not accustomed to having to think about their mortality.
Absolutely.
And we have essentially bred a society where, one, you can indulge all your own impulses.
Absolutely.
So you can be your own person who doesn't have to be thoughtful about others in a way. Like you have to be a rugged individualist.
Because you're a part of the world.
You think so?
And you
think you're sharing the world with other people? So
100%.
So thus,
100%.
You should act as if
so
other people can be affected by your decisions and your choices?
Absolutely.
Is that what you think?
Yeah. Other people can be affected by the things that you do.
Disagree.
Absolutely.
It's my right to disagree.
It's your right to disagree.
It's my right to disagree.
That doesn't make you wrong, though.
It doesn't. I have rights.
It doesn't make you right either.
Are you sure? Because I feel like I am. Anyone can quote facts and figures.
Oh. With your science.
With my science. I believe otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
Those PhDs are useless anyway. I mean, I've seen so many mental gymnastics around just a desire to mistrust the people. And we were talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect at dinner with Mom on Friday. This idea that we often, for those who don't know a thing about a thing, it is easier to tell yourself it is simpler than it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's
because you don't understand everything about it.
Right, because you don't understand everything.
But it's okay to not know everything about it. Real
smart people understand that there is a limit to what I know.
Yep.
And a ton of stuff that I do not know or understand. Absolutely. So I have to trust.
But there are people that know more than I do about certain things.
I have to trust that those people know.
And you have to trust it.
Yeah. But
you do it every day when you
know. Yeah. They'll assume, well, no. I think this answer is the answer, so I know.
There are tons of things that you don't know.
Are you sure?
There are tons of things that when you go into the world, one of the best examples that I just saw on the Facebooks, of course, it's like you don't know.
The Facebook's the problem. It's because everybody has the
I'm not making a good argument for people.
The mental silo that is Facebook, that people are allowed to ignore information. It seems as if my world agrees with me because the algorithm is giving me information that makes it look like.
Well, it's so interesting because it's like, well, I don't know what's in it. You don't know what's in your lotion.
You don't know what's in a lot of things. You don't know what's in
hot dogs. You don't know what's in.
We have given ourselves over to the industrial retail industry that is just churning out.
A level of trust.
Yeah.
And for those of us who believe, we have a level of faith in God, right? So when we eat our food, when we go to restaurants, when we pick up... I'm not
thinking about how many pieces of bug are in my peanut butter.
You're saying, Lord, please, Lord, bless this food for the nourishment of my body. Period, Pooh. Right? Yeah. And if my kids need to be vaccinated for something so that they don't get it...
Here's the thing. Here's the weird thing. Up until last year, our kids had to be vaccinated. You had to show up with the vaccination papers that says they've taken vaccines for the things.
Yeah.
Because we've been
and if
those
you don't,
parents,
you can't come back to the school.
Right. We've been those parents who've gotten the call from the school that said... I was
going to say, when I tell you, they're like, hey, I need the vaccination record for Victoria.
And it wasn't controversial, even though there were people who were anti-vax.
She can't come back on Monday until you print it out. And it's like, I have it. I just haven't printed it out. I'm sorry. Right. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
Right.
No, it's very real.
But now it's controversial.
Now it's a thing.
It's controversial because...
It's always been this way.
Because, well, it hasn't actually always been this way. This is all... so many of these things are new and modern.
Since our kids have been...
Yeah. When you say...
I'm not saying when we were kids.
Yeah.
But we're talking about people like us who are 40 who have kids.
Yes. And when we were kids, yes, you did have to have vaccine papers. We did have
the yellow vaccine papers. We absolutely did. And you could not enroll in school. And you could not go to school without them.
Right.
It was just...
And then suddenly... This vaccine. And the thing was, and this is actually relevant news, they were saying it wasn't FDA approved because things were happening so rapidly.
Yeah.
Because they were throwing out money to get these problems solved.
Because they were trying to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that it is FDA approved, as of last Monday...
What is it now?
The new excuse is that
what's it now?
The idea that goalpost has been moving the entire time.
What's the...
So there hasn't been an ability to, once again, for the people who don't know, you can come up with 1,000,001 conspiracy theories as to why this thing doesn't work, even though at this point millions of people have taken it without overwhelming side effects.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, we could say we don't know what the long-term effects will be. We know what the short-term effects of COVID are, and we have some ideas about what the long-term effects of COVID.
Yeah.
And we know that it is an exponentially growing illness. That it is killing people at the very minimum at rapid rates.
We need to stop the spread, right?
Yes.
Initially, right?
Yes. Which we were doing.
The fact that we need booster shots shows that it's not something that's necessarily as long-term as you might believe.
Yeah.
But I'm not a scientist. I don't know. All I know is I couldn't go to Florida this year.
Yeah. So you're thinking about your own personal anecdotal experience.
Me. Yes. What about me?
And the stuff you want.
What about me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and for these babies, these kids, these seniors.
Yeah.
You know, they're graduating from their blonde. They're, you know what I mean?
They'll be okay. I'm less inclined because I've been genuinely watching that unfold as far as like high school students and college students, and they're like, but what about? Will someone think of the children? And it's like, hey, do you want these children? I believe the children need to have a future, right? And if we know there's a thing that is possibly going to hurt or kill them,
I'm not saying in the spite of that though.
Yeah,
I'm saying that if we all did what we were supposed to do. Get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated, but distance and wear your mask, right?
Also
do that at the very minimum.
The value of sacrifice. It might be inconvenient. It might be difficult.
100%.
But it is a necessary step that has to be taken.
100%.
to get to a longer future. Like, because if you keep thinking in the short term and I just want to do what I want to do, which unfortunately, like I said, our society is genuinely built on the.
We got a lot of folks with it, don't we?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Adults.
Yeah. Well, American
that?
society is built on I want to do what I want to do. And I should be able to do it. Like, literally, your beer and your chips give you commercials that say, do what you want to do. You don't have to necessarily think of the other guy. You deserve this. You deserve the fun. And you're not a happy and whole person unless you buy a thing or do a thing. And so we're genuinely fighting with the way we've programmed Americans to be, because this thing shows up and says, be a little different, Americans. Like, take into account your neighbor. And although we call ourselves a Christian nation, the nation is actually like, no, nah, I don't like that. I don't want to do that.
There's a percentage of folks that are.
Unfortunately, it's like at least half the country. Less than half. Mostly.
Are we sure?
Unfortunately.
I mean, it's enough. It's enough.
More than too many.
It's
too many for something like this that requires a larger number of people to be attentive and care about this sort of thing.
But again, you know, the idea that it is so contagious, you really only need a few anyway. So,
right.
You know, it
that's been my thing about, like, I'm back to work on the college campus, and, you know, there are 18,000 students on that campus. And when you pack them into these places that were not built for a pandemic, and they've removed a lot of the basic protocols as far as, like, they're back into full classrooms and the bars are open, and they're trying to say, well, you know, we're expecting them to be vaccinated.
I love that the bars are open. Are you kidding
me?
It's
a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It frustrates me. As a person who's been trying to change health outcomes for the last 7 years, going on 7 years, I know how difficult and futile it could seem and how helpless you can feel trying to get people to behave differently than they would intend, particularly when there's fun on the other side. Like we're saying,
they haven't set in their head what that fun is.
Right. And so that's the thing that's frustrated me so much about this experience is I know that humans made most stuff up. So when people are like, we have to be able to do this, it's like, no, you don't. Like, you just want to be able to do it because that's what you think has to be done. But there's so much about contemporary society that is just stuff we decided has to be. Like proms don't really, like, they're ephemeral things. We made that up. We made up the ritual. Now, I'm not saying the ritual isn't in some ways necessary.
But kids love it.
Because kids like it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's nothing necessary about it, but what I am saying is it's also not necessary. We could develop new rituals, much like last year we had to develop new ways of performing commerce, of being, you know, participants in society. In that same way, we could develop new ways of being so that we don't replicate these problems or make things worse.
I agree. What you're saying is that people should make these considerations and adjust accordingly.
Yes.
And I get that.
Which is hard when you're scared.
It's very hard. That's the point. Like, it's very, very hard. It's like, I've always gone to homecoming. I've always graduated at, you know, the university.
What you've always known was that we did it that way.
100%. Right.
Yes.
I do agree that
we almost write it down that they deserve to be able to do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you worked hard for it.
Yeah, and that's the only way we could reward you.
No, I'm not.
Are you sure?
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? It is the idea that you're expecting, like, these schools and these colleges to remarket these things that have always been. Right.
I think they could. I think if we stopped and had enough imagination
if they thought
to
about
proactively solve the problems.
If they thought about it, yes. But that's not, I mean, they're still not believing that it's even happening.
Yeah, no. There's
so,
yeah.
You know,
there's word of so many of our administrators are acting as if this isn't happening. People should just be able to get what they've done traditionally, and that nothing should change, even in the face of a thing that has changed everything. And I agree, Laura. It's steeped in this idea.
Traditional expectations. Yeah.
People believe this is the way it should be.
And when you change that kind of stuff,
it literally tears people apart. They don't know what to hold on to. It's like kicking over
the apple cart. Yeah.
Which is sad, because I believe humans are more resilient than that. Because if we made that up, we could make up another thing.
Well, especially our kids. Our kids are more resilient.
Our kids
just make it fun.
Some of our kids don't actually know what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Unless we tell them. So if we tell them this new thing is supposed to happen, then they could honestly rebound and do the new thing.
Yeah.
But because it's so difficult for us to agree.
Well, you're talking about as a society. We've made special modifications for our family specifically because we do know that at least 2 out of the 3 kids need to know what's going to happen before it happens, right? And that we need to set expectations for them to know what's happening, basically. So we are always very cognizant of that, and we try to give them anything that's going to change what they're used to. We talk to them about it.
Right.
But you're talking about doing that on a scale that's way larger than...
Society does it all the time, though.
They do. But you would have to have a lot of people backing it up and supporting it.
Well, that's been the funny thing. Like, as we've talked about, like, getting vaccinations. Like, there are people who are like, why are celebrities telling me to get vaccinations? You listen when celebrity tells you what lotion to use or what deodorant to use or what beer to drink. Like, our society is constantly sending messages to humans to buy and consume or to do their civic duties.
They're called influencers for a reason.
Right. We created a whole category. Side note, our son wants to one day be a YouTuber, which I have so many feelings about.
And we're like, ew.
Even though technically...
Even though we're on YouTube right now.
We're live on YouTube right now.
But listen, let's be very clear.
But I did not choose this as a career.
Hey, listen. When we go to bed tonight, we both wake up and go to full-time jobs tomorrow.
We clock in and do 8 hours, right? So it's a fight against my internal mechanism that is like, I mean, you can play around with a thing, but I don't know that you could choose that as a career
like your
ambition.
whole job.
Here's the thing. I also know there are people who are making millions of dollars doing the YouTubes.
There are a lot of people doing it.
I mean, he could make a good solid $50,000 a year doing the YouTubes.
He could.
Under certain circumstances.
But he'd have to work for it.
Yeah. But
why
also,
don't we just get to the diploma first? Let's just start there, you know?
Right. I see people who do YouTube stuff and they like, so I follow a lot of vinyl people, so they just like show and like they get to like follow their hobby.
He is a YouTuber, y'all.
Yeah.
He is a YouTuber.
My son currently has a YouTube.
He has his own channel.
Where he posts Roblox games that he does.
Games that he's created himself. Right?
Some of them are games he's created himself. Sometimes he's playing other people's versions of games.
Yeah. But the idea of monetizing it to support yourself is another level. He's 11, so he may actually figure that out.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have any doubt.
Obviously, I have all the tools to teach him how to use that.
Clearly.
And do it. Yeah. But I'm also like, but also you need to like work. So
that's your old school brain.
My old school brain.
That's your old school brain.
My old school parent brain.
That's your parent and your grandparent brain that says you need to go on to the steel mill for 6 hours and then you can go.
Right. And then you can do the la-di-da thing on your computer.
You can do your la-di-da thing.
You want to do a job on the computers.
You can do the computers after 6 p.m.
After 6 p.m. When you put in your 8 hours.
When you put in your 8, that takes care of your rent
coal.
And you're okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have those limitations, and I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard. So
we're gonna support him.
I'm gonna support him, but I'm also going to feel a way about it the entire time. Unfortunately,
that's what that new age versus old school.
Yeah.
That is
the problem with that.
Like.
Yeah. It's a constant struggle of, do I let him prepare himself for a future that I don't fully understand?
Yeah.
Versus, do I teach him how to be the type of man I know how to be? And I think you could. I know a lot of parents struggle with that.
Yeah.
And because I literally watch it and work with parents where they're like, he wants to do this thing I don't get. It's like, I mean, playing around with is one thing.
There are a lot of things that our parents didn't get that we did.
And I do think no matter what, there are fundaments to discipline and hard work that are necessary for him to be successful.
Yep.
So we can't just like let him do whatever he wants and think. Right. Also, you can't go thinking that this job isn't work either, because if nothing else, for me to do this gig, I know that there's a ton of work that goes into it. Like I gotta like remember to advertise, which I never do. I gotta put up I gotta create imagery. I gotta edit shows. Like it's a ton of stuff on top of my regular job to do that. And I see Arlo and Annie also have videos. All the kids want YouTube fame. That's what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
So they're not exposed to people, they're not exposed to like bio.
Send us their YouTube and we'll subscribe.
Yeah. The kids will definitely subscribe to their YouTube.
Yep.
If you've allowed them to have YouTubes, not all parents will allow it.
Yeah. I mean, we watch very carefully.
Yes.
We get all the alerts and the emails and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we know what their activity is.
Well aware of.
We are well versed in the technology to help them.
Yeah.
With with
their endeavors and the humans that they're contacting. They're complete strangers on the internet. Yep. 100%.
But also I have feelings about it.
It feels weird.
It feels so weird.
Yeah, because you're like, I want to go to school and be a math teacher. Boom. I get it.
I get that. There's a direct path there.
Right. And you're like, I want to be a YouTuber. And you're like,
I don't want to crush your dreams, buddy. But also, like, you're going to go, your first job has to be in retail or food service or custodial. What do you...
There's a Wendy's right down the street.
Right. There's a Wendy's right down the street.
There's a Wendy's right down the street.
You want to go pick up some burger or go sweep some trash and, rake some leaves or something.
So here's the interesting thing about this, y'all. Richie was the retail walk into, was it Arby's?
I worked at Arby's, yeah. That's food service.
I was the kid that I was raised by my grandparents, and I want to be an actress and a singer. Boom. I'm also smart, and I'll do all the summer stupid stuff you want me to do, but I still want to be an actress. Boom. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
But also you understood you had to do both things. Like you couldn't just put all your eggs into one basket.
They let me go to the school for performing arts for like 2 years. They were so hesitant, and I understand where they're coming from now. It's like, geez, the actors be hungry, okay? But they let me do it. I got to do all of the creative things that I thought I wanted to do, and then personally, I understood at some point that I was going to have to live alone and get my own family and all this kind of stuff. And it was like,
well, because they instilled in you, like, hey, you need to have a realistic dream. You need a fallback.
You do. You need a fallback.
College is probably a good fallback.
Well, and you know what? For me personally, what it was is that, when you take all these auditions, right? They want triple threats. They want people who can sing and dance and act all at the same time.
They want you
I had a couple of those.
Completely talented, not just kind of talented.
No, and you can still be completely talented and about that life and still not get the role. Right.
Because you're beholden to whatever's going on in the room at the time.
For whatever reason. And
whoever's across from you. While you think you're great.
Or you think, I remember seeing some of the girls that I went to school with that were fantastic. They would go off to Juilliard and they didn't make it.
Yep.
And it's like, I couldn't even get an audition.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like...
Right. Out of all the people you knew who went to that school, there's only one Gabrielle Dennis.
Yeah. Yeah, and so exactly. And the interesting thing about Gabrielle Dennis was that she wasn't Gabrielle Dennis at the school. I mean, she was, but there was a girl who was 2 grades above us, right? Napiera. She was fantastic. Yeah. She was supposed to be what Gabrielle Dennis is now.
Yeah.
Right?
No idea where she is.
She's in New York. She does things in New York, but she isn't like, she's not on TV. Right. Yeah. And that's always kind of like the thing where, do you do TV? Do you do, shows like you do Broadway shows? Like there's, but yeah, there's nothing to say that you're going to be that person. Right. And for me, it's like, I like to eat every day. Right. I like to be able to pay my bills. Right. I like some stability.
Level of comfort. We all know Nicole likes her creature comforts.
I do. So let me figure out this whole IT thing.
That was a whole thing. The creature comforts.
Yeah. I need security.
Yeah.
I can have fun on the side. Right. Or do that later. Right. But right. Not to say people shouldn't try for their dreams.
Right.
But for me, it was more important that I go to a high school that was going to teach me how to be a programmer, which it did. And that's how I got into college, and the rest is history. So, But yeah.
Hey, so we need to take a 2-minute break real quick to pause for the cause. Thanks to everybody for joining us. We will be right back in a couple minutes. Sorry for the need, but things are happening.
Yep.
So we'll be right back with more of the Hallspace Podcast.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone. You can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me. Have you ever wondered why humans just aren't who we say we are? Psychologize You is a podcast by licensed psychologist Dr. Ritch Hall and licensed therapist Frank Baker. Join us as we explore why humans human the way we do. Hopefully, you'll learn a little bit about how the mind works, mental health issues, and ways to cope with this thing we call life. Weekly, wherever you get your podcasts.
Love, relationships, the church, the world as we see it today, and many more thought-provoking conversations. This season of Speak Kaya, She's Come Undone Talk Sessions, coming to your ears soon. Keep watching.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast. It's me, and I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, with my lovely and capable co-host,
Nicole Hall. Hey there.
Hey there, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for the second half.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And we are back to finish our conversation. Nicole had some more thoughts about it, so we were going to circle back around to it. And you were thinking that about essentially the struggle that we often have when it comes to how do we help our kids reach their dreams while at the same time being realistic about those dreams.
Yeah. We're at a very interesting place, at least for our generation, where they have the ability to sort of figure out what those dreams are and go for them.
And explore them.
And maybe even find a way to monetize it and become quite successful, right?
Yeah.
But, the way that we grew up and the way that our grandparents grew up and our parents grew up, it was like, you got to work. Man, don't work, don't eat.
Don't work, don't eat.
Yeah. I mean, it's you put in your 8 hours wherever, and then you do whatever the other stuff that you like, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
But so I feel like there's this constant sort of struggle between supporting the dreams of our kids and maybe some of the unrecognized dreams that we've always had for ourselves.
Yes. And not always feeling like you could reach them.
Yeah.
Having had adults in our lives go, I remember, it's funny because you and I talked about this at another time, but like, I remember when I was in high school, I mentioned, teacher was asking, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be in radio broadcasting. Because at the time, I was making mixtapes at home.
Yeah.
And so would kind of put on this affect that the Chuck Jones, producer of the show, comes from that time in my life when I was splicing together mixtapes, because that's how you made tapes. So once, back then, for the kids who are listening, no kids are listening. Back in those days, when you wanted a song off the radio, you had to tape it onto a cassette tape.
Yep.
Right. And then you would splice together multiple songs you liked. So you'd have a tape that you put all your favorite songs on.
And that's what's called a mixtape.
Now, you today would call it a playlist that you've curated just because you like a bunch of songs, you put them on the same playlist. Back then, we had to do it like it was all offline.
Manual. It was absolutely manual.
Yeah. And if your tape got messed up, you knew how to use
the pencil.
Use a pencil to wheel it back, or even to tape the thread together, the film together.
There's going to be that blip that didn't sound good, but the rest of it was okay.
But the rest of it will be okay, right? Yeah. So working with much harder technology back then, right?
Yeah. But we figured it out.
So when I was doing that, my brain automatically went to, why don't I turn this into a radio show? So my mixtapes that I'd make for myself would be like me, doing intros in between. So this is Chuck Jones signing off, and now we're going to be playing Lalo Schifrin's Mission Impossible theme, and then would go into the song, which is funny. Because and I've now realized this is the third tangent in the same story, but I'm going there.
Go for it.
I've been thinking about having another show where I just play music. Now, I don't want to do a full DJ thing, but I like the idea of doing a radio thing where I tape for an hour of just me sharing music that I like.
Your favorite music.
Sharing some favorite songs that I like, because every week I have a song
Richie
that I'm
Vaughn's music list.
Richie Vaughn's music playlist.
Yes.
DJ Cabal's.
You have to hear this. DJ Cabal. Yes.
DJ Cabal's playlist, right?
Richie Vaughn and DJ Cabal are the same person.
Yeah, just like Chuck Jones and Richie Vaughn are the same person.
Exactly. And so throughout college, he would make these mixed CDs for everybody.
Whenever someone asked me for music, I would write DJ Cabal onto the CD disc.
Yeah. So and I remember thinking, who's
DJ Cabal? I'm DJ Cabal.
It came from Richie, but...
Right. So back when I had my underground selling CDs, I would sell CD mixtapes for a little bit of cash. Yeah. DJ Davin. Nice.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
DJ Javin, hook us up.
So anyway, the point of that story, I now remember where I was supposed to be going when I originally diverted off into 3 different alternate conversations. So I remember telling a teacher I wanted to be in radio, and she said, well, you mumble too much to be in radio. Now, her presentation to me was mumbling, because at school I was a much more timid and quiet person, which is why, once again, I understand my son, that he often presents this way, that he is internally not that way on the inside. Yeah. Now, I'm on television, local television, talking
Dr.
about,
Hall. It's very real.
Talking about psychology stuff, because within me, there is a personality that goes real big when I need to, able to do the radio show. And what's funny is I work with a lot of other therapists and psychologists, and when I talk to them about hey, you can come on my podcast, we can talk about it, everybody always gets scared, and they're like, well, what would I talk about for 2 hours? And it's like, it wouldn't even be 2 hours, it'd be an hour, and I'll handle all the production side. You just sit down with me and have a conversation. And they're always like, well, what does that even, I don't know what I would say. And you're like,
fear of the unknown.
I know. Nicole literally before every episode is like, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to be okay up there? And look at us now. We're already 45 minutes into a show, and we've done nothing but gab.
We we almost never have a list.
Right.
I ask every time, and I'm going to continue to ask. Right.
That's
what it's,
Yeah. But it essentially kicks off our pre-production meeting, because then it means we have to actually start
getting ready.
I have to start thinking about it. Because I'm too busy how do I solve all the production problems so that I don't, mess up a show? And she's like, well, so what am I, as the talent, what am I going to be talking about when I'm on film? I'd like to know, once the lights are on me, what's expected of me. And I'm like, nah, we can just wing it. We'll just wing it. We'll just get up there and talk. So it's hilarious that, back then there was an English teacher who was like, you don't seem like the personality to me that could handle being in radio. But now you put I've created my own radio studio here. I could broadcast from here every night if I wanted at midnight, because I'm already playing video games.
In that English class is not
who I was,
who you were, who you are, right.
And so when we're talking about your kids' dreams, it's one of the reasons that I see a lot of the kids that I work with get frustrated is because their parents just don't seem to understand them. They don't understand. When they tell their parents, I want to do this, comedy thing, or I want to do YouTubing, or I want to do streaming. Their parents had no frame of reference for that. Yeah. So the parents get afraid. What would that even mean if you were to try to do that? And as a result, it creates like this frustration in the parent because they're like, get a real job. And the kids aren't exposed to real jobs in the same way they were before. Right. And sometimes how you understand real work is to like go out there and work and you're like, oh, like, you know, I worked at Arby's for like 6 years and I was like, I'm not doing this forever. I worked at Convergys for like 4 years or 3 years and was like, I'm not doing this forever. You know what I mean? Like exposure to jobs is what helps you to understand how the identity you have in the working world, and some of that you don't develop until you're in it. But there's a lot of people, and on the other side of that is I think there's a lot of people whose parents kind of push them, right, to become a certain type of thing, right? Like Venus and Serena Williams' dad was like, you're going to play the tennis and you're going to be the best at the tennis, right? Tiger Woods' dad was like, you're going to be the best at the golf.
That's it.
The golfing thing is you, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of stories of those talents whose the parents put them in this thing early and they literally no other thing is going to be out there. Like speaking of Del Curry, we were talking about Del Curry. Like Del Curry was like, my sons are going to play the best of the basketball.
And they both play basketball.
Yeah. And Steph is amazing at the basketball and driven, right?
Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of, as the parent, sort of intuition into
is it intuition? It isn't always intuition in some of those circumstances.
I'm not saying it is for everything. But I do know that there are things that, if we supported it appropriately and gave them everything that they needed to do it, that our kids could excel in very specific things.
There is a definition, definitely providing the resources that they need.
Absolutely.
And sort of helping drive them towards these things.
Ra is a natural athlete.
Yeah. Even though he's like, again, he's not like against
really
organized sports, but he doesn't really want to play as much as we want him to get out there. Like, hey, man, you should get out there and play. And he's like, nah, I mean, you know, I like tossing a ball around, but
I'm very good at it, but I don't want to do it.
Right. And I think some of that is a fear. And some of that I've wondered about, like, we talked to them about like doing karate and they were like, nah, I'm not sure. But like my parents, like they asked me if I thought I'd want to do it. And the next thing I know, I was in a class. Like, I wonder if just tossing them into a thing and letting them get the experience to see if they like it.
100%.
But then the other side of that is, as a parent, do I want to be driving them to this thing or showing up to practices or showing up to games when they don't really want to do it? And I barely have enough time to keep them alive. I was going to say, do you mean I'm driving?
Yeah.
Right.
Because my plan is Rod's in band this year. He's decided to play the trumpet. Yay. And then he can't do basketball until next year, but we're going to do basketball.
Right. He's going to have to do the basketball.
Yeah. He plays basketball. He plays basketball in the rain. He plays basketball.
He likes going outside and shooting hoops.
He shoots hoops in between his classes.
And a little basketball hoop right up front of our house. So
totally gonna do it.
Yeah,
totally gonna
make him do the basketball.
Because I agree with Laura Beth. It's like exposure. Yeah. Let's see what you got. I mean, and honestly, he's 11. Where else do you have to be, son?
Right.
Drop you off.
He doesn't have a lot of other stuff to do, so he could do the basketball.
He would rather do the YouTubes with the Roblox and putting on the YouTubes.
And that's just not good for him from a health standpoint to do those things all the time. So, like, part of me is like he has to get involved.
There's got to be a balance. I agree with that, but I mean, I'm a technical person. Like, you could live in your basement and create the best stuff.
Yeah, but you also need to get up and move around to be healthy.
I mean,
to some degree,
sure. Get some vitamin D, I guess.
Yeah, you need sunlight. You need to get out the house.
You know what state has a bunch of sunlight?
Yeah, I did not say Florida, because you know what Florida also has?
It's COVID.
Right. And hurricanes and Florida men. Florida man.
Fine.
Yeah. You forget that before you start putting in your bid. So it's a tough walk with kids, and the part of the problem is you don't know what the right answer is, and so
you don't. And I mean, and I think for at least for our family was like they took some risks, you know, with letting me do what I do and let my brother do what he does. My brother was into sports; he did all the sports, baseball, basketball. Yeah. The only thing he didn't do was football, but because he was a small kid, but he was fast. But I think, you know, at least allowing the kids to explore. They let me explore. And then I made my own decision based on what I learned. Right. Where to go next, right? Yeah. Your kid isn't always going to do that, right? Right. But I feel like there's a way to do that and allow for balance, right? Yes. So for our district, you know, our kids, again, they can be in the band, they can be in extracurricular activities, they can be in the choir in the high school. There are multiple outlets for them to do a number of things. You know, Victoria she's in a dance class every Friday. She's in a dance class.
She started her dance class on Friday.
She started on Friday. It was so cute. Mm-hmm. I loved every second of it. It was great. And she's really enjoying it. And she's really excited about it. The twins are there with her. So clearly they're having the best time ever.
Time of their life.
Yeah. But so there's this sort of academics are important. Having a stable career choice, that's important as well. Mm-hmm. But doing what you love is also important because life is short.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's got to be...
So you want to get them some opportunities to do things. You want to keep exposing them to opportunities to have some fun and get into some stuff.
Yeah.
And
you don't want to crush that part of them.
Yeah.
Right? And say, oh, well, you got to be... You know, you put your 30 years in and then you can have fun. That's...
Yeah, no. And I do believe, I will say this, the internet as it is right now, I don't know what it'll be in 10 years, 20 years by the time they're out in the world, it does even the playing field to some degree for your ability to do things sort of outside the norm and expose yourself to the world.
Absolutely.
Like, no, even if only 7 people know that this thing is here, we've created this platform to be able to have these conversations with our friends, and we hear back from our friends, they view it, and if it so happens, like,
and we love
our podcast has been listened by people in like Germany and Japan and like random weird places. But like, if you were to, and that's one of the things I was telling Richie when we were talking about the idea of him being a YouTuber, we literally talked about it yesterday, and I was like, so there's a lot of people who put things on the internet, but you got to have something that people want to see or that they attach to, and that's why you become popular, right? And you can chase popularity, but honestly, if you do it with integrity, you're more likely to get the long-term results. And you got to kind of build the thing. So you got to be willing to do the thing when only one person is watching.
He's a Captain America. He's not going to do anything without any integrity.
Yes. I do believe that about him. I do know that about him. He's very driven in that regard.
But there's this follow-through that he needs, right?
You have to commit to it.
You got to commit to it, and you got to be...
And one of the things I'm often telling my kids that I work with and my actual children, everything is work. Like, you got to have a discipline about it. So just because you think, I'm just going to be on a screen and, you know, the money will roll in, you know, be on screen, profit. Like, it does not work that way. You got to like really work at it.
Otherwise, we would have quit our jobs by now.
Right. We are not there.
No. Richie's going to retire me, though. I'm going to put that out here.
We have a small and dedicated audience.
Richie, Dr. Hall is going to retire me.
Why are we making any of those promises?
I'm not making promises. I'm putting it out into the ether. We're going to accept it and absorb it. Dr. Hall's on TV every week on Channel 12.
Not every week. We're genuinely at the point where I don't know what weeks I am going to be on. So I'm just kind of showing up when they ask me to show up.
And they've been asking for the past 6 weeks.
They don't pay me, but they ask me to show up and say things on TV. I don't get like any benefits from it other than getting to be on TV.
Exposure.
It's an ego thing. I like doing it.
It's great.
You can catch me often on Good Morning Cincinnati on Channel 12. Ask Dr. Hall. It usually comes on at 9 a.m. I'm usually on around 9:15, 9:20 something. And I'm out of the studio by 9:30 and I'm driving to work.
And therein is how he's going to catapult off.
Into the stratosphere?
Into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
He's going to blow up.
Kids better buy my rookie card now, because after this year, the price ain't coming down.
The price today is going to be different than tomorrow.
Than the price tomorrow.
And I'm going to retire.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Good night.
Yes. Shout out to Laura Beth, our dedicated viewer tonight. We were supposed to stop the show at 9, but I was going to say late. We were
probably trying to wrap up anyway.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up.
There were 2 things that I wanted to bring up before we wrapped up, though.
Sure.
The first thing is it's the anniversary of Chadwick Boseman. We're big
anniversary of Chadwick Boseman's death. We were big fans of Mr. Boseman. He's
such a great human,
and we're very sad to have recognized that it's been a year since he left us. And recently, his episode of What If aired on Disney Plus. And it was really good, and we watched it, and we loved it. And it made us even more sad that he was gone. He was such a great actor, great man.
Great impact on the world.
Big impact on the world.
Hence the Dora Milaje, which is...
Since Nicole's wearing the Dora Milaje in honor of Mr. Boseman today.
Yeah, and this was created by Terry Huddleston. His art, which is a great example of, finding something that you're very good at and monetizing it.
Monetizing your passion.
Exactly.
But monetizing it means you have to understand that you have to engage in
he's a hustler.
Mercantilism,
100%.
right? You have to be able to sell it. You have to be able to build
24/7.
You have to work really hard at it. You can't just be like, well, I like drawing pictures, so I'm going to just make money.
No.
Draw pictures, ... profit. That is not the equation.
That's not how it works.
There's a ton of other steps in the middle.
And on everything, the Terry Huddleston experience, please be sure it's an experience. You know, it is absolutely.
He'll be at the Cincinnati Con this year, so there'll be an opportunity for local people in Cincinnati to see him. He tours all around the country.
He's all over the place.
Even all the way to Hawaii.
Hawaii, so
the 50 contiguous states.
Him and his wife both, but
plus Hawaii.
So they do art and they do clothing sometimes, and they sell those things for lots of monies, and they make more than us. And their kids are
also
more
than I do as a doctor, which is annoying.
Yeah, I mean, but they're honing their skills. Their two oldest kids are also honing their artistic skills, which everybody has sort of their niche, which is very interesting to see. Yeah. So there is something to be said for following your dreams and allowing for that to
providing
to
the resources.
Absolutely,
for your children to sort of follow their dreams and to show them sort of the pathway to. There's money to be made in these hills. You just got to know how to make it. But there's still work
involved. Absolutely. So that was the first thing, and then the second thing I wanted to talk about was really quickly just prayers for anybody that's going to be affected by Ida. The hurricane that is hitting. I'm going to pause right here
and say this is where your son gets it. This is why we got a note from our son who was like, from our son's teacher. Yeah. Because he was like saying, you know, his teacher had said her son was sick, her daughter was sick. Yeah. And he was like, I hope your daughter's okay. I'm going to be praying for her. He sent her a message in Google Class and was like, I am going to pray for her and I hope that she gets better and not worse. And it was genuinely the sweetest thing. It was ever. Like really, like Nicole's verklempt again, talks among yourselves. Yeah, but the fact that he's such a sweet and loving young man. It's just, it's so natural for him. Yeah, and he gets it from you, Mrs. I want to spend some time at the end of the show talking about those exposed to Hurricane Ida. There are a lot of people that they've already been misplaced from Katrina and they're living in Mississippi, and now they got to go from Mississippi to where do you go? Yeah, where Nicole's been watching coverage of it for the last 2 days. Well, and we went to brunch today. Happy anniversary. I love you. I love you too. It's our anniversary. Well, our anniversary was this week. 14 years we've been married. 14 years, 23 all together. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. We're still here. Ups, downs. all of the in-between. Yeah, all the in-betweens. Yeah. Pandemic. Yeah, I feel like it was on the docket to talk about that today, but we can definitely talk about that next week. We can talk about it next time. What you learned after 14 years of marriage. What does that even look like? It's a crazy mixed up thing to have to go through. It looks like yeah. Particularly after watching so many of our friends and family not make that many years. A lot of people have fallen off in the same amount of time. Not for the meek at heart. Not for the weak at heart. Not for the weak at heart. Yeah, no. You didn't say weak, but that's what meek, I know you meant. Weak. You said meek. You said meek. Oh, yeah. So also not for the meek. But you can be meek. It's not for the meek. You could be humble. I think it requires some humility. With a capital H. Absolutely. Yeah. Because you got to take that ego and stuff it down. Like I'm just going to take this. I got to swallow it and poop it out. Okay. Right. All right. I just got to eat this. Song is not always about you. Song is not always about you. Even if you want the song to be about you. No, not your song today. Sorry. Not your song today. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Hashtag nobody cares. Hashtag the kids don't care. That's really. Yeah, the kids don't care. Because we care. I care about you. Yeah, I care about you too. Yeah, it's the kids don't care about the us. We have to make them care about the us. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole. Even though they require the us. They absolutely require to live. They are sustained by the us. They don't understand cutting off your nose to spite your face kind of thing. No. But yeah, I wanted to. Little brains aren't developed that well. Yeah, they don't. They don't. But I mean, they're learning though. I mean, you got Ra who's sending off the messages, and Victoria's just like, "I love you, mommy." Mm-hmm. You know, like she's always so sweet and just constantly seeking assurance and love. Daniel's it's like, just like. Daniel is a worker. Like, he won't necessarily say sweet stuff, but he'll be like, you need to do this because mommy's tired. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's very, So they're all very special in their own ways, but. And he's very authority oriented. He's like trying to make sure everything's right for the authority. He is. Even if sometimes he likes to defy the authority. Oh, he likes to fly in the face of it. Big time. Yeah. But, he'll stop you if he sees you like being a habitual line crosser. Rule breaker. Yeah. But prayers out to everybody who is prayers out to those affected by the Hurricane Ida. May they get out safety, those who get out, and those who had to stay off the beach, y'all. Don't make them be out there like that. That's rude. We were watching at brunch and the guy was like, hood being blown off, cameraman having to wipe the screen every few minutes. Like,
it's really
hold on. Right, we're still rain is literally getting on the making him stand out there because we think it's cool. Like, put that man in front of a green screen
now,
in a safe location. He might have been
like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Or they might have been like, Jeff, you going out there.
Yeah. Are you sure? I gotta stand.
It's so windy out here.
Hurricane though.
It's a hurricane.
It's the worst hurricane in like 40 years.
Since 1850.
Right. Like I gotta stand in it though.
The water's right here.
Right.
Are we sure the levees are gonna work?
But here's the thing, Sam. It'll be really good TV if you get swept away.
It'll be really good TV.
It'll be spectacular if you get swept. So could you put yourself in harm's way for the benefit of the people watching at home from the safety of their homes?
You think of the people and the safety of their home.
And the rain.
Yeah. But for those people who are really like struggling and they're packing all their stuff in a car and hopefully going somewhere.
Yeah, my heart goes out to them.
Definitely.
Because I could not imagine living in a place where I had to uproot.
I could not.
Because storm was coming.
What would you even grab?
I don't know.
I mean,
there's quite a few things I would grab. I mean, I do have a list in my head, but still,
I do too, because it's been asked a few times, but it's like,
I don't want to have to do that.
I mean, if I never come back, or if I'm like coming back in a week, or
you don't know when you're coming back because you don't know what the condition will be when you come back.
You have no idea. Yeah. And then we got animals, like it's just a whole thing.
Yeah. You travel with all these animals. We got these animals because we didn't think about traveling with them.
Yeah.
So that's the joint. That's the jam. Turn it up and play it again.
Play it again.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Hallspace Podcast.
We truly appreciate it.
We made it to another live episode. We made it an hour, which was our goal.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here.
Yep. We appreciate it. You know what the music means.
You know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. House Hall. We rise. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.